Am I happy that we're reading this book? I am not so sure. We started a book club, the Kgosi Readers Book Club, and I'm very happy because the group is very consistent. We meet once a month on the second Sunday of every month on Google Meets from 6:30 to 8:30. And our book list for 2025 has been voted for democratically. So I would like to share our book club selections for the next 3 months of April, May, and June. This is what we are going to be discussing. So, in April, we are going to be discussing Trevor Noah's Born a Crime and Other Stories. This is about Trevor Noah's path from apartheid South Africa to the desk of The Daily Show in New York. Began with a criminal act, his birth. Trevor was born to a white Swiss father and a black Xhosa mother at a time when such a union was punishable by 5 years in prison. Born a Crime is the story of a mischievous young boy who grows into a restless young man as he struggles to find himself in a world where he was never supposed to exist. It is also the story of his relationship with his fearless, rebellious, and fervently religious mother, his teammate, a woman determined to save her son from the cycle of poverty, violence, and abuse that will ultimately threaten her own life. The 18 personal essays collected here are by turns hilarious, dramatic, and deeply affecting. Whether being thrown from a moving car during an attempted kidnapping, or simply trying to survive the life and death pitfalls of dating in high school, Trevor illuminates his word with an incisive wit and unflinching honesty. I remember I read this a few years ago and it was very funny to a point where I couldn't put down this book. It's going to be very interesting to discuss a non-fiction book because normally we are reading fiction. So I'm looking forward to our next book club discussion on Trevor Noah, Born a Crime. Then in May, my birthday month, we are going to be reading The Girl Who Smiled Beads by Clemantine Wamariya. When she was 6 years old, her mother and father began to speak in whispers, when neighbors began to disappear, and when she heard the loud, ugly sounds her brother said were thunder. In 1994, she and her 15-year-old sister, Claire, fled the Rwandan massacre and spent the next 6 years wandering through 7 African countries, searching for safety, perpetually hungry, imprisoned and abused, enduring and escaping refugee camps, finding unexpected kindness, witnessing inhumane cruelty. They did not know whether their parents were dead or alive. When Clemantine was 12, she and her sister were granted refugee status in the United States, where she embarked on another journey, ultimately graduating from Yale. Yet the years of being treated as less than human, of going hungry and seeing death could not be erased. She felt at the same time 6 years old and 100 years old. And as I'm reading this synopsis, it reminds me of a movie that I watched. It was an indie film. I watched it during my indie film era. And that movie was called War Witch. If you've got a bit of time and you're looking for something to watch, Google and find that film. It's got the same themes as this book. Am I happy that we're reading this book? I am not so sure because I had made a mental pact with myself to say, I had made a deal with myself to say, I am not reading any more books about war and African suffering. But here we are because of book club. So I haven't read this as yet, so I'm going to read it so I can participate in the book club discussion. And then on suffering, the last book in June, we are going to the Caribbean, is How the One-Armed Sister Sweeps Her House, but by Cherie Jones. This is one of the best-selling books on the Kgosi bookshelf. And I read this about 2 years ago. It is set in Baxter's Beach, Barbados. Lala's grandmother Wilma tells her a cautionary tale about what happens to girls who disobey their mothers. For Wilma, it's the story of a willful adventurer who ignores the warnings of those around her and suffers as a result. When Lala grows up, she sees the story of his hope, of life and love after losing a baby in the most terrible of circumstances and marrying the wrong man. And Mira Wallen, her story is about keeping alive, trying to make sense of the fact that her husband has been murdered and that she didn't get the chance to tell him that she loved him after all. How the One-Armed Sister Sweeps a House is a powerful, visceral novel of lives across race, class, and of the sacrifices some women make to survive. I enjoyed reading this because of the writing. I really enjoyed reading the Caribbean dialect of English. It's something different. It's something different to get used to. But I remember enjoying reading this book. So I'm happy that it was voted for, because now we can gather and discuss our thoughts about Lala's story. So, quick wrap up of what we are reading over the next 3 months. This is our April book. This is our May book. And this is our June book. I'll circle back again to discuss the next books that we'll be reading over the last 6 months of the year. But for now, get yourself a copy of one of these books and join our book club. Join our discussions. If you would like to see what our book club is normally like, the meetings are available on YouTube. Just click on the live tab and you can see all our past meetings for about a year or so over the different books that we have read.